It's been a few years since I've had these speakers. Well, since I reviewed these speakers, it's one of the first speakers that I ever reviewed on the channel. This, along with the Martinlogan SLM XLs that I have on my wall now. But I've since reviewed, I don't know how many dozens of speakers now over the years. But I am now returning back to these guys. Right now I am using some Kimber Cable 12Cs. I think that's what they're called, Kimber Cable 12s. It's bi-wireable, bi-ampable pair of cables. They are not too expensive, not quite as expensive as the AudioQuest cables that I've had. I guess one negative thing about these speakers is that you do have to plug these in, so you need to have an outlet near the speaker. This is so this will light up it'll send the current through the stat panel. If you haven't figured it out already, these are the Martinlogan ESL X's. This is an electrostatic panel or electrostat speaker. There is a smaller one, which is the standard ESL. This is the ESL X, so it's the bigger version. This is also the second least expensive electrostat that Martinlogan offers. They offer a lot more expensive ones. I did review the Neolith, which is their, I think, $100,000 or $200,000 version of the speaker. It's much bigger, of course, so this is like the baby version of that one. If you missed that video, I will leave a link for it down in this video's description. It's a very cool video and very cool speakers. Anyways, this entire thing is the electrostat panel. This covers, I believe, everything from 400 hertz on up, and then everything below that goes down to the woofers. There are two 8-inch woofers. There's one in the front, also one in the back that I believe it's 22K down to 41 hertz. So if you want to go below 41 hertz, you will need a subwoofer. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about picking up one of these speakers. Otherwise, it does sound good as is, if I recall correctly. I do have this hooked up to an Eversolo DMP A6 as my streaming device slash preamp, and that is plugged into a Stark Sound A3 amplifier, which I believe puts out something like 600 or maybe 620 watts per channel. All right, so I've been sitting here for the past few hours listening to these speakers, and these sound just as good as I remembered them back at the old apartment. I'm in my new living room now. This one is a little bit bigger than the old apartment, so these speakers now have a little bit more room to breathe. And I don't know if I thought bass was really great on these back then, but I can say in this specific room that the bass definitely, it sounds good. However, I feel like the lower mid bass, it just lacked a bit of kick to it. So kick drums, if I have this hooked up to my TV set, some of the explosions, they kind of lack that really hard-hitting punch to it. It still sounded good, but on certain songs that I'm really used to listening, either pop music, rap music, stuff like that, I think I played Green Day Longview. I think when that first comes in, it's like the bass kind of hits really hard in that, and it does lack a bit of excitement. So in the near future, in the very near future, I am going to pair these up with a pair of subwoofers. I mean, I have a pair of Buchard S10 subwoofers. I have a white one and a black one that I think I'm going to pair these up to them to have stereo bass, because I think that's going to add just that little bit more oomph to the presentation. But other than that, everything sounds just as good as I remembered back at the old apartment. Now, some of you guys know that my reference speakers for the past, I don't know, 3 years or so, 3-4 years now, have been the Perlison R5T towers. Those objectively measure better than these speakers do. They're one of the best measuring speakers I think you can buy for their price category. So they've been my reference speakers for the past few years. Do they sound more accurate than these speakers? I would have to say yes. However, these Martinlogans are just a much more, at least to my taste, a much more exciting speaker to listen to. It's just the high frequency detail, mid-range clarity, everything is just has this effervescent sound to it. I mean, it just throws sound in your room and makes it seem like it's magically floating in the air. I mean, those electrostatic panels, they're so thin, so they can move frequencies so fast. And it's like the high frequencies and the mid frequencies, they're all in that one single stat panel. So it's not like they have to separate it out with a tweeter and a mid-range to accomplish the same thing. This does it in just one big gigantic stat panel. And the way that it can just delicately move the high frequency detail is just so good. It's unlike speakers that I've heard costing several $1,000s more. And I've had a ton of speakers in here that cost 10, 20 times as much as these guys do. So the fact that I came back to these rather than going with something more high end, I think it says that you don't have to spend a whole ton of money to get amazing stereo sound quality. And these image so good too. Okay, hold on, let me back that up for a second here. Yes, these image so good. Unfortunately, as some of you guys know, with these electrostatic panels, you have to be in the sweet spot. It's a very narrow seating, it's a very narrow sweet spot. So it's like you have to be right in between these speakers. So I mean, get your tape measure out, measure exactly where the center point is between both these speakers, put a little piece of tape on your chair, that's where you gotta sit. If you have your wife or your significant other with you, or if you just wanna demo these speakers, you kind of have to get out of the sweet spot and have that person sit in here, because if you're sitting side by side, that image is gonna collapse into the nearest speaker. I know that these have that curved stat panel, which is supposed to give you a bigger sweet spot. I guess in theory that sounds like it should probably work out, but in my experience with these speakers and also their bigger speakers as well, I feel like the sweet spot is still pretty narrow. It's like a one-person sweet spot. I think if you're gonna use this in a home theater setting, which I have in the past, obviously it doesn't matter too much since you have the center channel to anchor the center channel dialogue. But if you're just going to use this for stereo imaging, stereo listening, you kind of have to be in the center position. Also, positioning the speakers makes a big difference as well. Now, this is a dipole speaker, meaning that the sound fires forwards and backwards. So sound coming at you is going to be the same as it's shooting backwards, because it's just a very thin film. So the sound radiates in both directions. So for me, I find that pulling it a few feet away from the wall really does make a big difference for the sound to radiate around the speaker and also throughout your room. Placement can be a little bit finicky, but once you get that dialed in, once you get everything up perfectly situated in your room, like I said, man, the details, they just float in the air. I just find, I always reference these speakers, electrostat speakers, Martinlogan electrostats, in every 2-channel review I ever talk about, just because they've always left such an impression in my mind about how good high frequency detail can sound and the kind of delicate nature that you get from these stat panels. They're just so good. It's kind of like once you hear these speakers, you don't want to go back to another speaker. That is definitely the main reason why I wanted to get these speakers back in the house. Not only to use as a reference point for how details should sound, but because they also look really cool. I mean, if you come in here, you just look at these, you don't really, if you don't know what they are, you're just gonna think I've got some weird shape, weird shaped boxes in my room, because they are transparent. It almost kind of looks like an art piece. It doesn't look like your traditional speaker, so it can be a talking point if somebody were to come in your room and just wonder, what are those things next to your TV? Everything is so three-dimensional. Sound staging is perfect once you are in the sweet spot. I can pick out people on stage singing. I can hear the room. If the recording is good, it's going to sound fantastic. If your recording sounds bad, it's not going to mask it up. It's not going to cover it up at all. Easy to pinpoint differences between amplifiers, just because of that. Detail is so resolving. Anyways, those are just my really quick thoughts once again on these speakers. I'm really happy to have these back in my possession. I'm going to be using these again as comparisons for other speakers that I do in the future, 2-channel reviews in the future. And if you haven't heard these speakers before, I would highly suggest you go out to your nearest showroom, your Martinlogan showroom. Definitely worth an audition if you have a chance to listen to these. And if you like detail in your recording, I think these are just really tough to beat. And they don't cost a lot of money. These are only, I think, $4,400 a pair, or maybe $4,500 a pair. You can get the smaller ones for less than that. And I think these are just magical sounding speakers for what you're spending. So anyways, just my quick thoughts once again on the Martinlogan ESL X electrostat speakers. Have you heard them? Do you own them? How do you think they compare to other speakers in the same price category or costing more money? Leave your thoughts down below. I'm a big fan, as you guys can tell. Anyways, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.